Hey everybody, this is Scott with GuitarAndBass.com. Thanks for checking out this video. And today I wanted to go over beginning fingerstyle. It's such an amazing technique on the guitar. And if you've wanted to do it or maybe tried it and maybe struggled a little bit, I want to give you some tips to get started with a great foundation so that you can, build from that. What I see happening, what kind of happens is there's some really beautiful fingerstyle pieces that we all like to learn to play. I'm thinking like Dust in the Wind or Blackbird, even like Stairway to Heaven. They're beautiful pieces. And, one approach is to just dig in and try to learn it, kind of jump into the deep end of the pool, if you will. And I'd say go for it, try it, go that direction. Because, it's always very motivating to try to learn a song like that. But what you have to realize is that there is a lot of technical underpinning, if you will, to getting to the point where you can play a Stairway to Heaven. Not only are you doing left-hand things that are challenging, but if you haven't used, if you've been just accustomed to using a pick, then this is all brand new. So you're asking yourself a lot. You're asking of yourself a lot. And so I wanted to just go into some ways that you can build into that. Some ways to practice and build up that skill. Yeah, go for the hard piece too, but also at the same time, work your way up so you have a really strong foundation. Alright, so let's just go over like 5 basic things to get started, and then we're going to do a few beginning exercises so that you'll have something to start building your technique. Alright, first thing, let's talk about guitar. Selecting the guitar. So the ideal instrument is an acoustic instrument for fingerstyle. Not only for sound, excuse me, but as opposed to electric. Now you can do it on electric, and there's beautiful fingerstyle songs using electric. The electric is a little harder, I would say, to do fingerstyle because there's less tension on the strings. And an acoustic has more tension. That's an advantage because when you're doing fingerstyle, you're actually pushing on the string, just like you are in electric, but you really are getting a lot of your right hand security by the tension on the string. So an acoustic, I think, will really help you to develop a smooth, a strong, consistent right hand. So if you have the choice, the option, go with the acoustic. Alright, so let's select your guitar. Let's talk about the right hand fingers, because if you've used a pick, up until now you've strummed and maybe done up and down strokes, maybe some hybrid picking where you pluck with the pick and one other finger, but now the right hand is really, with fingerstyle, it's going to become its own instrument. And whereas on the right hand we identify the fingers with numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, on, did I say right? Left hand, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. On the right hand, we're going to use letters. Okay, so when you look at some sheet music, you'll see little numbers and little letters, and those are identifying the left and right hand. Okay, so on the right hand we have P for thumb, I for index, M for middle, and A for the ring finger. Now these are, the reason we use these letters is they're the first letter of Spanish terms that identify each of these fingers. Pulgar, indice, medio, and annular. Okay, and this finger, the pinky finger, is so short we really don't use it. It does have it's called E. If you see it sometimes for what's called resguardo or resguardo, it'll show that. But we're really going to be talking about just P-I-M-A, or we can call it Pima. Right. So when we see the music, or if we want to talk about our right hand pattern, we can use the letters to identify. So that's the right hand. That's how we talk about the right hand. P-I-M-A. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about arm position. So a lot of times what I'll see and people doing fingerstyle, it's not wrong. You can still get a really good sound, but putting your palm or your hand on the guitar so that you get this kind of an angle, right? Well, over time, that's going to create some issues here, like some carpal tunnel issues. It's going to create soreness here. So you want to try to avoid that. If you're just starting out, you can start with really good habits. Of course, if somebody plays like that, they've figured it out. But if you're starting out, get the good habits first, right? So we want a more natural hand position. And the way to find that, just let your arm hang by its side, okay? So this is going to be your natural hand position. See how it's not bent out. It's just going to be how your hand would normally be. And then I'm just going to bring it up and rest my underside of my forearm on top. And this is what I'm looking for. I call it like a little bridge. See how there's a little bridge there? It's not like that. Ooh, that's going to hurt after a while, right? So a nice natural bridge. That's how your hand and arm naturally align. So that's going to, just be good for the health of your arm. All right. So the weight of my arm is being held up here, not here. All right, so that's really key, just to find that natural arm position. So you can see it from the side there. Yep. And to find it, you just try to keep your arm in a natural position. Bring it up and over. There you go. Okay. All right. So we got a good arm position. Now let's talk about how we're going to pluck the string. And we're going to primarily use what's called a free stroke. So in fingerstyle, there's two main strokes: free stroke and rest stroke. So we're going to use free stroke primarily. And what that means is, if you look at each of your fingers, you've got three joints. You've got the tip joint here, and you've got the middle joint, and then you've got the knuckle joint. All right. For freestyle, or for free stroke, we're going to pull at the middle joint. Okay, so that's how we're going to activate our fingers. And we pull back to our palm, but not to the point where we move our knuckle joint. Just kind of a nice pull like that. So that's how we're going to pluck the strings. Okay, with the free stroke. 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3 fingers. Okay, pinky follows. The thumb, it has what I like to call kind of a circular motion. It comes out, and so I'm not pointing it down like that. I'm letting it just be natural, and it's going to pluck the string and kind of go out to the side and then come around again. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? So this is kind of the basic technical things to get started, just to keep in mind and work towards. So and then the free stroke looks like this. Alright, so I'm just grabbing the string and pulling from that middle joint. And I'm trying not to do this. I'm trying not to pluck with my arm. I want the joint to do it, okay? And that's where that little bit of a bridge there is going to help you, because if it's too close, your fingers get jammed up in there and you can't really get that, you can't get out of the way when you're trying to pluck it, so you're kind of jammed in there. So a little bit like that. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Okay. So those are kind of the basic, beginning technical setups that you want. Last tip that'll come into play when you practice is to practice with a metronome. Because each one of your fingers is kind of like a drumstick in a sense with the rhythm. And so developing a solid fingerstyle technique has a lot to do with getting each of these fingers to be independent and being able to play a tone or strike a string solidly, the metronome will help you. At a relatively slow tempo, maybe in the 70s beats per minute. You can get those online or an app on your phone. Okay? So when we go over the exercises a little bit later, what you want to do, once you get them fairly under your fingers, is then try to play them with the metronome. Okay. So those are the 5 kind of getting started tips. Now, let's do a couple exercises. Alright, so the basic one that we're going to do is Pima. Alright, so I'm going to put my thumb on the 5th string, my I finger is on the 3rd, my M finger is on the 2nd, and my A finger is on the 1st string. Okay, and I'm just going to really kind of grab these strings and flex them a little bit so I can feel, I'm not going to let them kind of float around. I want to really grab those strings and feel a little bit of flex, and that gives my hand security so that when I pluck, my fingers really can grab that string and sound it. Okay? So the first exercise we're going to do is Pima with P on the 5th string, and then we're going to move the thumb to the 6th string and do Pima, and I, M, and A will stay on the same strings. Okay? So it sounds something like this. And if you notice, before I do the Pima sequence, I am getting prepared on the string. So all my fingers go to the string that they need to be on before I start the sequence. So that's called the getting prepared, or being in the prepared stage. So now my right hand knows what it's going to do, and in the left hand I'm just going to do a simple 2-chord progression, a C chord and then a G7. Okay, so that's a really basic but beautiful, easy fingerstyle pattern that you can use to play a C and a G7 chord. Alright, and here's the second pattern. So we'll just do 2 patterns for this video just to get started. The second pattern is very similar to the first. We're just going to change the order and go backwards with I, M, and A. We're going to go A, M, I. So we're going to play our bass note, and then A, M, I. And I'm alternating my bass from 5 to 6. I'll add my C and G7 chord in there. Now, when you do that second pattern, you're not going to be able to put all of your fingers on. You won't be able to put I, M, and A down like you did on the first pattern, because you're coming up the strings and you can't really have this finger down while you're trying to pluck it. So this one, you will notice that the fingers won't be prepared like in the other one, and that's normal. When you're going down the strings, you can prepare because of the way the strings are sounded. When you're coming up the string, can do it, but it's more realistic to not have them all prepared. But you can play around with that, but it's okay if you're having trouble leaving them down when you're coming up, if they come off a little bit before you pluck them. You know, if they're not set, that's okay. Alright, so there's a couple beginning fingerstyle patterns. Try those first. Once once that right hand is starting to be able to play evenly, and you feel like you've got some semblance of control over it, you can check it with the metronome. Then what you can do is just start playing some of the chord progressions that you like to do, and instead of strumming, put in the fingerstyle patterns. Now, when you start adding different chords, the principle right now is that the thumb is always going to play the lowest note of the chord. So the thumb will be moving from 4 to 5 to 6 depending on the chord. Like if I'm playing an F chord, my bass is going to be on the 4th string. If I'm playing an A minor, I've got an open 5th string for the bass. Okay, so on and so forth. Alright, so let's just do 2 extended patterns. Excuse me. I'm going to do C, A minor, F, and G. Okay? And for the first pattern, or for the first exercise, I'm going to do P-I-M-A for that. 2 measures each. So again, just taking a simple chord pattern, chord progression, putting some fingerstyle accompaniment, changes the whole mood, the feel of the music. It's such a beautiful technique. Okay, for the last one, let's do our P-A-M-I. Same chord progression. Alright, so a couple things to get you started on fingerstyle. It's such a beautiful, beautiful technique. And you know what what's so amazing about fingerstyle is it transforms the guitar into a polyphonic instrument. That's a big word. Poly means many, phonic means sound. But essentially what that term means in music is that you can play multiple melodic lines at the same time. When you're using a pick, you can either play a chord, which is harmonic, or a melody. So you have harmony or melody. When you use fingerstyle, all of a sudden, it's like an orchestra. You've got the bass sound, you've got the inner harmonic sound, and then you've got the melody line. So you've got a mini orchestra right here. And in fact, Beethoven, when he heard a famous guitarist playing the guitar, he even called it, that is a mini orchestra played in this polyphonic way. So yes, go for the big songs and have some fun with those, but at the same time, build the skills in a nice sequential way, and that will be your foundation to really play those songs that you want to play well. Alright, well thanks for checking out this video. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you next time.